Alright, this is my Strand Hunter Ultimate build, and I'm rocking a triple Strand Shuriken setup on here, and it is going crazy. Now, if those of you who don't know, Strand Hunter is probably the most powerful. When you are able to add some of the exotics that we have here, to really take it to the whole next level, this becomes Grandmaster carry level of a build. Now it's really simple once you set it up, and it just allows you to be able to crowd control, unravel, suspend, and sever. Now I'm using Ensnaring Slam, it's a class ability to be able to do a flip move that suspends enemies nearby. I'm also using Whirling Maelstrom, these Strand Shurikens every time I destroy a tangle. Now if you don't know how tangles work, pretty much whenever you're doing any of your verbiage, whether you're using sever, suspend, or unraveling, those final blows are going to turn those enemies into tangles, and each of those tangles now become weapons for you with this setup. Now, those of you who don't know, unraveling is amazing. It does a bunch of chip damage to anybody that's nearby, and it actually jumps from enemy to enemy. So that's how we get the crowd control we need out of this build as well. Now I'm using Assassin's Cowl with this. Now this allows me to go invis whenever I get a melee kill. Fortunately, when I'm using both the grapple and obviously the thread spike, I'm going to be able to get powered melee kills off of both of those. And also my finishers will also send me invis and give me health back as well. Now, to bring all this together, I'm using Thread of Fury because it still registers my tangles while they're in Shuriken mode as tangles, so I get melee energy. Now anybody I defeat that is suspended, also I'm going to get class ability energy, and then thread generation. Every time I do damage, I'm going to get grenade energy. So this is an ability regen build structured all around getting Woven Mail as frequently as possible, so that way I can maintain Woven Mail while also having a high ability regen. Now when it comes to this setup, it's really cool because everything you use is going to help you generate. Now I'm using Final Warning. Final Warning is a Strand exotic, one of the ones you can use, but you can really use whatever you want. This one just does unraveling rounds, so it makes it very easy to use because it just gives me one of my verbiage right out the gate. The Ultimate is amazing with this setup because this is the only way you can structure it where you get all of your aspects and fragments still available to you while in your super mode, because you cannot pick up tangles, but if you use the whip attack, you can still turn them into Strand Shurikens. On top of that, you can also use a Snaring Slam to be able to deal with any of those unstoppable champions in any situation. So it puts you at a very strong advantage whenever you're dealing with groups of ads, groups of enemies, or any situation that gets a little bit difficult. Just hit a slam, boom, everybody's in the air and they're stuck, and now your entire team can just play cleanup instead of over worrying about taking fire from multiple different angles. You can kind of shut down one side by yourself. Now, the build is just amazing. Also with some of these other aspects that we have, these seasonal mods that are available, we have Horde Shuttle and a few others that are creating a lot more of these tangles and a lot more of these thread links for us. Wish Keeper is another exotic you can use, but like I said, you can use whatever you want. This was really good for the long range, as well as being able to lean more into the suspend abilities. So it's really good to have variety with this build, but you can use anything. I do recommend weapons that have verbiage somehow, like sever or unraveling rounds naturally. This season, fortunately, we already have unraveling rounds already set up into our base kit, so that helps out a lot. But to make sure that this build is season proof, we need to make sure we have all the best fragments that give the most return on the investment consistently. So we're not looking for anything that okay, in this situation only this does a thing. No, everything activates all the time. The only one that's even conditional whatsoever is woven mail, and I think it's worth it. So I'll deal with that. So we had to build around that concept. Now there's one change if you really want to make one, you can make. You want to take out, if you decide you don't want to use melee so often or grenade so often, you can swap out Thread of Wisdom. But I'm using for my helmet, I'm using heavy-handed, Ashes to Assets, and hands-on, and firepower. All of those together are going to give me orbs of power and super energy. Also using harmonic siphon, because that's going to give me orbs of power whenever I get double kills. Use whatever you want on the chest piece. I always recommend to go with whatever the burn is at the time. I'm using stacks on stacks, so that way every time I pick up an orb of power, I get 2 charges of light. And I use charged up, so that way I can get up to a total of 4 charges of light, which helps me out a lot to be able to stay in my Strand weapon surge mode, which gives me a 25% buff. I'm also using recuperation, so that way when I pick up orbs of power, I'm going to get back a chunk of my health. That goes perfectly with woven mail because I get health back, plus I activate my woven mail again, so I have my damage reduction there. I'm using powerful attraction, so that way whenever I dodge near orbs of power, I'm going to automatically go into woven mail as well. And proximity ward. Some of my practice videos when I was kind of checking this out, I died while doing my finisher, so I had to add that in to close that gap. And lastly, I have Reaper on, so that way whenever I dodge, I'm going to get the ability to create an orb of light on my next weapon kill. So that actually stacks a lot with a lot of the other abilities. So you can end up picking up 2 and 3 back to back pretty quickly with this setup. Because as long as you're using your abilities, you're going to get orbs of power, and as long as you're getting, being consistent and aggressive, you're going to be rewarded with health returning back to you. So this allows you to be very. This actually makes close range possible, because most of the time it's not when you get into more difficult content. But when you have the ability to go invis as well as get health back upon kills, this becomes almost as potent as Devour. And it's really easy to use. Once you get used to it, you can actually use your grapple to grab onto your tangles or onto your Strand shurikens, which is really cool because they're going to automatically position themselves near enemies. So you can just grab on to anything that's not already killed, and boom, now you have another attack in there, to be able to do unraveling. So that's why this build is so great. It lets you do all the verbiage. It allows you to be able to have survivability. You can create orbs at will. You have the best return on your ability energy. The Strand Shuriken is amazing because since it does unraveling damage, it also does chip damage, and the chip damage generates your melee and your grenade energy very quickly, very rapidly even. So that's why this is the top build. It's better to run with this combination opposed to having 2 grenades, because then you're limiting your class ability to not be able to do anything for you, except for your regular dodge. So that's why I like this. I like having both options available, and it doesn't actually take away from anything. I'm still using the same dodge energy. It's just a matter of how do I want to use it. So yeah, that's the build. Thank you guys for watching. And yes, I did go flawless on this Lost Sector as well as on the Strike. So this is actually legitimately a great build. This is the closest I got to death the entire time. And yeah, it's really easy to get my health back because of all these orbs of light around. So check your boy out, Black Mike. Peace.